Okay, it says we're live. Let me just do my usual here.
Yeah, I should do the same.
Where are we here? And
I see us live.
you see us?
I do.
So nice when we see ourselves.
It's live.
You see us?
I do. So everyone heard that too.
Isn't social media incredible? Oh my goodness. Let me turn mine down.
Share to my page.
Yeah. All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? Hope all is well. I hope you're staying safe. We're still going through the pandemic. We're still dealing with COVID-19 and all the different things. On my end, the kids are back in school, right? From since August. On your end, I've been seeing, thanks to social media, of course, some family tell me stuff too, but I see all the kids lining up. I see, parents wishing them well and a safe school year and all that. So things are turning over on that end. Is that correct, guys?
Yep. I know, like my kids, they just started today back to school. My youngest one had a bit of an orientation yesterday, but really officially school started today. And then my high schooler also started. He's in grade 10. So to him, it feels like grade 9 because he missed everything. So, so yes, they're off. They're off.
Oh, of course, let me, welcome to Dollars and Cents. Pardon my manners. Pardon my manners. We've been out for a couple weeks, but as I always said before, things happen. Life happens, and we come on and we try our best, to catch you up to speed in terms of all the different things happening there in the financial world, especially as we talk to our community. Special shout outs to Kyle Corbin. He held us down for a while with some excellent information on wills, right?
Yes.
KP here. We have Keisha. We have Miss Billie Jane Bolton Rojo, right?
I know the name.
Financial Group. And she's actually going to be spearheading the presentation today. We're going to be talking about living benefits.
Yes.
So we look forward to hearing a little bit more about that.
Yes.
Trying to empower everyone, right?
Absolutely.
All right. In terms, shout outs to Wade. He's not able to be here right now. Wade is dealing with some things on the family side. Yeah, he might pop in, but on the family side, he's taking care of Pops and all these different things.
Oh,
so
okay. Yes.
we wish him and Pops well. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So, ladies, I don't know if we want to jump right in to it, or I don't know if there's anything happening out there in our world. As I know, elections are going on there. I know that one of the issues that the voters and the general public talks about is hey guys, what about the housing market? We're trying to get back to regular living. What's going on with that, right? I don't know if there's anything else that maybe you want to throw out there.
Actually, I had someone canvass one of my area leaders, and it was his wife actually that knocked on my door yesterday.
Okay.
And one of the things, I was all done up in a way because I was actually had my lights on and everything like that, getting ready to do a little bit of a pre-recording in the doorbell.
Such a movie star.
So I went to the door. Right. I went to the door.
Looking fabulous.
After we spoke for a little bit, she's like, "Are you a realtor?" And I said, "No, I'm a broker. I'm a mortgage broker." And she said, "Okay," because I feel like I just interrupted something. I think she kind of caught a glimpse of the lights as well. But the minute she realized that, she brought out the note with regards to one of the things that the liberals are trying to work towards. And everyone's making their promises, but the bidding wars was something that she was saying they're trying to trying to make that a little bit more vigilant in terms of kind of taking that out. This blind bidding, is adding to some issues in the market. So who knows, right? It's everybody's promising something in this time.
I mean, listen, governments are there, put there by the people to do things, right? Unfortunately, once they get in and they into their positions to do whatever, the positions, they're very alluring. They're comfortable, they're taken care of, and then they tend to forget all the promises that they've made and all that. So I encourage people to vote, right? But I also encourage people to be informed, know the platforms, know these platforms. Don't just go with a party simply because that's what you have been doing all these years.
That's right.
Get to know what are they saying,
I mean, there are so many pros and cons, right? Because I will say that I'm one of those, I don't maybe partially guilty of the tradition, right?
Me too.
With regards to, I think his name is Ryan Turn. Yeah, I think the person for this area is Ryan Turnbull, and I have to say I was quite impressed because I remember he's liberal, and around Christmas time, I don't know if it was this Christmas or the Christmas before, I can't remember. With COVID, we just can't keep track of things. But I received a Christmas card from their family in the mail. And I sat it on my desk for a little bit because my intention was actually, I just thought it was a good gesture to actually just email, because the email information was on there. Email and say, thank you for taking the time to wish my family Merry Christmas and, Happy New Year. I wish your family all the best. Keep safe. And he actually responded. And, I was impressed with that in the sense that he took the time to actually reach out. And you can tell that it was personal. It wasn't a generated type of thing. But with regards to the guilty of following tradition, since my grandmother has come to this country, God rest her soul, she passed on. But no matter where that liberal election poll was, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's me.
She found it. And that was basically because, of course, in the Pierre Trudeau days, right? A lot of our family migrated
did a lot for Black folks, man.
Exactly, because of their policies and all that stuff. I will say that was a partial reason, but also one of the things I did like about the Liberals was the immigration policies, giving our people opportunity to migrate. I know some of the other leaders, they're not in favor of migration and stuff. So it's weighing out the pros and the cons. It's a very shady area right now. There's so many things that's being done that what I would normally go for is, oh wow, I don't know if I can continue. It's so I really have to take the time to really weigh out those pros and cons, because you really have to weigh out what's going to be best for your family at the end of the day. What are you willing to work with, and what is your absolute no? I can't support you guys, right? I think that's what it really comes down to, in terms of voting in this particular environment right now.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And we just, as KP mentioned, we really do need to be informed and not just vote because our parents have voted that way, or parents' did, because of, Pierre Trudeau, he got generations of voters.
Yes.
Generations of voters. Because of what he did. He secured, see, I'm all about legacy, He secured his family, his legacy. Look at it, his son.
That's deep.
Okay? Legacy. So, but that's an amazing thing, though, in terms of, because he did do a good thing. And as a result, that has continued generations. So that is powerful in terms of our own. If you think about the decisions that we make, these are legacy decisions that can benefit our children and our children's children. So I love that. The thing is, you are absolutely right, KP. We need to be informed. We need to be informed about our decisions. Don't just blindly, seek out that poll station because mom did and mom is expecting you to do it, and so is grandma. We do need to be more informed. What I love is that I saw so many Black candidates there this year. Like, I know there's an organization, First Fridays, that they're having an event, and they're going to have, I think, a political event to meet the different candidates. And I would swear I saw over 20 candidates, which was amazing to see. I don't even care what party they represent. The fact is we need representation. We need to be at the table. And as you said, we need to be informed voters, but we need to hold our representatives accountable, and we need to be involved in all the levels of the political process, from municipal all the way up to federal. So definitely we need to be more engaged. And I'm holding myself to this too, because I have to say I haven't necessarily been the most engaged voter to sort of focus in on my life, but we do need to be involved, because that's what really governs, the lives that we are experiencing and that our kids are experiencing, and holding politicians to account for the promises that they made when they come. Everyone wants to come and, let's say, visit with the Black community, well, great. You got our vote. Now what? So we got to hold them accountable.
What you gonna do for me? Huh?
What you gonna do for me?
What you gonna do for me? Speaking of legacy. Speaking of legacy, right?
Yes, legacy. Look at that.
You did. That was a nice little
segue. Little segue into the legacy thinking. I'm telling you, legacy. It is decision by decision. Right. And today we are talking about financial decisions. I'm turning things a bit on its head. I know that we talked about life insurance, okay, and really the idea behind life insurance.
Just one thing here.
Yes.
I don't know if you're gonna. A lot of times we use the acronym, but just letting folks know that PCAL means Partnership in Creating a Legacy.
A legacy.
All right. So there we go. There's the full segue.
Perfect. Partnership in creating a legacy. Because definitely want to partner with families to make those legacy dreams come true. And we talked about a few strategies already, like in terms of education, which is perfect for this season, with kids all back to school and getting our minds now back into how do we prepare for their educational future. So definitely like to chat about that. But protecting, this amazing thing that you're doing is paramount. And, we did have a conversation about life insurance where we talked about, life insurance is really a death benefit. The idea of life insurance is protecting our survivors or whoever we want to gift, our legacy to, right? That's really life insurance. But I kind of want to turn things on its head. I'm so glad that we're going to be talking about living benefits, because my position, as I learn more and grow more, and, he gives me more wisdom, is living benefits is actually where we should start. You know how you get onto the airplane, and Keisha, you were just there on the airplane, and the stewardesses are out there, and, they have the video and they bring the thing down. They're telling you to put the mask on before you put it on the kids and all of that kind of stuff, right? They will tell us, put our mask on first. And we talk about this, especially as women. We need to take care of ourselves first so that we have something to give to our kids, to give to our husbands, to give to our family. We need to have, make ourselves full so we can have an overflow, right? Well, it's the same way when you think about protection needs, right? We really should be putting our gas mask on first. If anything should happen to us and we're still here, how are we protected so that we can continue to do all of the amazing things we plan to do? That's where living benefits come in. So when I talked about insurance before, just a quick recap, I like to try to keep it real simple. What is insurance? I like to consider, as I said, it's this really communal reserve. Okay. And it started off as a social reason for everyone to want to pool the resources to help each other out for a number of reasons, whether it's for funerals or, making that transition, or if it's for merchants and protecting their merchandise, Navy or, ships protecting their merchandise at sea, whatever it is, it's really communal saving towards this reserve fund in case we need it. Right. Well, the same thing, with life insurance is that a whole bunch of people are, chipping in to this bag of money, which is a communal reserve in case we need it if we don't have our own setup, right? Because it takes time to build up a beautiful reserve to take care of all of the unexpected things that happen in life, right? So it's great to be able to tap into this so that you can access, some money when you need it. But where are our biggest risks? We're always thinking about life insurance for the next generation, right? You want to make sure you've got something left for the kids, for your partner, for your survivors, for your organizations, charities, whatever. But where is our biggest risk? What is the likelihood that we would transition prematurely, okay, versus the likelihood of us having an in-life sort of thing that takes us off course? We get sick, we can't work for an extended period of time, or we lose our dependence. what's the stats really around that? Like if I just look at my own numbers as a 47-year-old woman, okay?
Not a day over 25. Okay. Not a day over 25.
Right. Okay. So as a 47-year-old woman, healthy woman, non-smoker, okay? And the reason why we talk about this, because insurance, when we talk about insurance, remember, we're all pulling into this reserve fund in case we need it. So when we chip into it, then we can sleep easy knowing that this reserve is there in case we need it. But guess what? The whole idea is for the insurance company to be awake at night, figuring out how they're going to make this money available when we need it, okay? Yeah. So we transfer that risk to them. So they want to know, what is the risk we're taking on? So they want to know your age. More risk the older we are. They want to know our sex, because women do outlive men statistically. So that's why they look at those as risk profiles. They want to know our health, right? How is your health? Are there any kind of, pre-existing conditions, or do you have some genetic stuff going on, like, within the family? So they want to know our health profile. And they also want to know lifestyle. Right? They want to know, are you a smoker or non-smoker? We had a lovely conversation about, marijuana. They want to know, are you, criminal lifestyle? Are you deviant? They want to know these things because that probably increases the risk that you might need this money. So they want to understand all of that. But we should look at it the same way as well, right? So what is the risk that I would transition early? In my case, at my age, 5% that I may transition before the age of 65. 5%. What's the risk or the likelihood that I may have a critical illness? Now that's more like 18%. What is the likelihood or the risk that I may not be able to work for, let's say, at least 2 years because I have some type of a disability, whether that disability is from an illness or that disability is from an accident? What's the chances of that? Over 30%. That's where the risk is. Yet we pour all of our resources into that 5% risk. We should be protecting that 18%, that 30-something% risk, because guess what? Those things we talked about, we would probably survive, but our wallets won't. And our legacy dreams, poof, will go up in smoke if that unexpected thing happens. So I want to turn the head on where we should prioritize our dollars when we're thinking about protection, and to consider getting living benefits first. What are living benefits? And they call it living benefits.
I was about to ask. I was saying,
yeah, okay. We call it living benefits.
Living benefits. Yeah.
Right.
Break it down.
Living benefits because we get a benefit while we are living, as opposed to life insurance is a benefit. They call it a death benefit because it's something that's paid out on death. Right. So living benefits are getting some type of a benefit while we are here, because something is taken off course while we are here and we have survived it. We still have to live through it. Right. So what are those living benefits? I already mentioned critical illness. What's the likelihood of you succumbing to a critical illness? And they consider 25 different conditions like cancer. We know really those numbers are serious. Like they say 1 in 2. So among the 3 of us on this call, one of us may have a bout with cancer, right? So that risk is huge. You've got heart attack and stroke, right? You've got things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and, loss of sight or hearing or limbs, or, there are like 25 different conditions that insurance companies will look at in terms of protecting your life, your ability to continue to live should you succumb to a critical illness. And you know what's really cool? It was actually a doctor who invented critical illness. And he was actually a South African doctor, Caucasian South African doctor. And he and his brothers were the one that actually invented, they did the first human to human heart transplant, right? And he had a patient come in who was on death's door. He already worked on her. She had cancer. He had to remove her lung. She recovered. She went back about life and was back to him a few years later, dying. And her cancer had come back and progressed, but she was working through that. She was coming to his office from work, and that broke his heart. Why is she working? She should be, taking care of herself. Well, guess what? She did transition a few weeks later, and then her survivors got a life insurance benefit. But what about her ability to take care of herself, right? Instead of working herself to death with cancer, because she had no choice, because the kids have to eat. right? So that's where we should really consider, making sure we're protecting that. So that's critical illness. And they've got like really cool provisions about that, because people are like, well, what if I never get sick and I'm paying all of these premiums? They have something called return of premium, where if you never make a claim, okay, they will actually return your premium. Now, this benefit we got to pay for. So there are a little bit of, excess amounts that they'll add to your premium, which is the cost of you having this insurance. It's what you're paying into this pool, right? So they do have an additional cost for the benefit of having all of your premiums returned to you under a few circumstances. You can have return of premium on death. If you were to transition and you never made a claim, you never had a critical illness, well, then they'll give all of your premiums to your survivors or whoever you designate as your beneficiaries. That's return of premium on death. Then they have return of premium on expiry. So we talked about life insurance, that there's different types of life insurance. There's temporary life insurance, which is like you're renting it for a period of time. And then there's permanent insurance, where you have it for life. You own it. You've purchased it, like buying your property, okay? Except you bought your insurance. With critical illness, generally, it's considered like a temporary insurance, and it gives you protection until age 75. But you can choose the period of time that your premium stays the same, so that you can control your cash flow, right? Because, with car insurance, every year your premium changes. Well, with life insurance, you can choose to have your premium stay the same, at least for, let's say, a 10-year term or a 20-year term or a 30-year term. You can do something similar like that with critical illness. You can have a 10-year term critical illness. It'll protect you for 70 up to age 75, but your premium stays the same for 10 years. After 10 years, it'll roll over for another 10 years for a new amount. And you always know what those amounts are. There are no surprises. In your contract, they'll tell you what those amounts are, but at least you know that your cash flow will stay this amount for 10 years. Or if you choose, you want it for 20 years. Or you may say, you know what? I want this level. I want consistent for until age 75. Let's say you get to age 75, the policy expires. You never made a claim. Return a premium on expiry, you can get all your premiums returned to you. Okay. Then there's one other option, return a premium on cash surrender. So that's if you cancel the policy, then they can return your premiums. And they do have different calculations and terms, whether they give you 100% or they tier it based on how long the policy was in place. That's where you get into sort of the details around that. But that type of a provision is available. So that's critical illness. So people, that helps to sort of get around that apprehension of feeling like you're just throwing money away. And what if I never need it and that money is gone, right? Which is typically how insurance is. The point is you pay a premium so you have peace of mind that if something happens, you know that you have the money and you're willing to pay for it. And that's why we pay car insurance. We don't get into a car accident. We paid the premium. It's gone. But at least we had that protection in case something happened, right?
Give us those three. Could you repeat those three again?
Those three was return a premium on death.
Right.
Return a premium on expiry. And return a premium on surrender. So when you cancel it, okay? Right. And each of them, return a premium on death, that's a small amount extra that they would add for that benefit. Return a premium on expiry costs a little bit more, okay? And return a premium on surrender, that costs quite a bit more, okay? To get that provision on your policy. So before we go on to talk about the next one, and I should mention too, with living benefits, with critical illness in particular, generally, there is a survival period. They want you to survive your condition. Okay. So it may be 30-day survival period, maybe 60-day survival period. You need to understand the terms of the contract or the policy, okay? But the whole idea is that they want you to survive and then they'll pay you out, right? If you do not survive, then your insurance, hopefully you've got a regular life insurance policy, that's what pays out if you do not survive, right? And then if you never make a claim because you did not survive, well, then you get the benefit if you included return of premium on death. Then your family at least will get the benefit of that extra money, okay? But that's the thing to consider with critical illness, is that it doesn't necessarily pay out right away as soon as you call them and you make a claim, I've been diagnosed. They may have a waiting period, and they call that a survival period, okay? The nice thing, because I'm all about legacy, okay? I like to go think to the next generation, all right? You can get critical illness for your kids. But remember, we're putting our gas mask on first. Don't make no sense to be getting critical illness for your kids when you don't have it for yourself. Okay? Right. So I would encourage families to have that for themselves first, but you can get that for your kids. And when you get critical illness for your kids, you're taking advantage of them being young and healthy. So those premiums are much lower than what the premium would be for, an adult. Okay. And they also offer some additional conditions that they would protect against. They also include more childlike conditions like type 1 diabetes, right? Congenital heart disease, like things like that, like cerebral palsy. I believe that's on there. Cystic fibrosis. Don't quote me because I know those are in there, but I'm not sure exactly which of the two. But the point is that childlike conditions are also included for child policies. Now, those would expire once our kids are, let's say, over the age of 18. Then those child conditions come off, and then you have your basic, let's say up to 25. Different conditions, right? So you can get that for your kids so that while they're young, the policy is cheap. There are companies that allow you to pay it off in 20 years, so you don't have to pay it for life. You can have it paid off in 20 years. And if your kids are older, guess what? When they're on their feet, you tell them to pay it. Okay. You just lock them in at a reasonable rate, right? So you can do that. And you would build in for sure those provisions, return of premium on death. Definitely believe it. You definitely build in return of premium on surrender because the kids may cancel. So then at least the premiums will come back. And some people actually use it almost like as a forced saving, right? Because they know that when their kids are, let's say, are 25, they're getting married. They're like, you know what, cancel this policy. Let's get our return of premium. Okay. So, but the nice thing about this is that, I don't think it's the ideal savings plan because you can probably save your money elsewhere and get more return. Because remember, return of premium does not include interest, right? They're not giving you, interest on that money. They're just returning your premiums, right? So you're foregoing that. But you have that benefit of protection that if your child got a critical illness while they were young, you can get a lump sum payout. Or if they're, if they're older and they continue to use it, they've got that benefit, or if they cancel, they can get the return in premium. Okay. So now the way critical illness works though, it's different from from some of the other types of insurance. Really, it is protecting it's really a lump sum that's paid out. It's really protecting your savings. Okay. So if something were to happen to you that you got a critical illness, they will just give you a lump sum. Okay, so you say, I want a $50,000 critical illness policy, or I want a $25,000 critical illness policy. If you make a claim, right, they'll just pay out that check, which helps you to get through that time period as you recover, right? Now, people are like, well, how much should I get? Well, it depends on what's important to you, right? For some families, it's that, you know what? If I get cancer, I want to go south of the border. I want to get my healthcare there. So you want to make sure your policy can pay for flight, stay, if you're traveling with a partner, for you and your partner, you want to include healthcare costs down south, right? So you would add that up and say, what would that cost? So a family may be like, I want a $250,000 critical illness policy because that's what I need if I want to go down to the States and get my care covered and not have to worry about it. People think, oh, I want to be able to take control of my health. Not only do let's say I don't want to go south of the border, but I want to explore alternative, methods like naturopathy or something like that, which isn't really covered much through OHIP or even through work benefits. Work benefits may not pay a significant amount, right? Usually there's some caps, right? So if that's important to you, then you might want to consider what that cost is. You might be like, you know what? I want my mortgage. I want to at least not have to worry about my mortgage for a year. So what does that equate to? That's how much you want to make sure you have covered off. Or I want to make sure, and I shouldn't say or, these are actually ands, right? I want to make sure that I can continue to build my legacy. So I am saving to my retirement. I want to make sure that there's enough money to pay for that for the year or 2 years, whatever the amount makes sense to you. Or I've got kids. I want to be able to continue to contribute to their education savings. I want to make sure that amount is so that they'll just pay you. You determine what that amount is. People like thumb in the air who don't want to do all that that math. People will be like, I'll just take 1 or 2 years of my take home pay or 1 or 2 years of my living expenses. Okay. So that's sort of like rough, right? But you can get very granular to figure out what that looks like for you. Okay.
In terms of what you're saying as far as getting something out for the children and it could expire later on,
yes,
once they reach a certain age, just say something a little bit more about that, because whether it's for us and or the kids, in our community, people get real nervous oh my good, what am I doing? It's like almost like I'm putting a bounty on my child's head, or
Right. Right.
Just just to settle in the minds of individuals that you're just doing what is best, right?
Right. It's so true, and that is definitely, when I talk about this, I'm bringing this on my head. You know what I mean? And it's what it is. Listen, these are things that other communities have been doing. Okay. So we do need to sort of move past that. What it is really is just, I am buying cash if I need it. If you just sort of think about it that way, when you do it for your kids, you are actually securing the lifestyle of your grandchildren. Because if your child ever got sick, then at least they don't have to worry that they will be able to get through that time, and your grandchildren can continue to live the lifestyle that they've enjoyed. Right? So the benefit is that if you see this as a benefit for yourself, you might want to get this benefit for your child and take advantage of discounting because they're kids, right? For kids, they give them extra illnesses that they consider that might happen while they're kids. Once they outgrow that, then those child conditions come off and they just look at adult conditions, right? But that's just, it's really the whole idea. And this is where we need to start, as we start to think multi-generational. Right now, for me as a parent, I want to protect my livelihood today, because I want to create this great future. I want to be doing all of these things. I want to save for my kids' education. I want to have a healthy retirement. I want to, because I want to be a business owner. I want to acquire real estate, and I'm going to be calling Keisha to help me with my mortgage. I want to do all of this kind of stuff, right? I've got all of these ambitions that I want to do, right? But things can take me off course that'll make that impossible. Because if I get a critical illness, people get bankrupted from that.
True.
Okay. True. And so how are you able to do that? So if you see the value for that for yourself, you can be like, you know what? I want to secure the same value for my next generation. So you can do that. And as I said, you can choose to, from when your child is young, like a baby, you can choose to do it and pay it off in 20 years. If your child is older, as I said, you can start it when they're older, and then at least just lock them in at good rates. And then they take on that. They continue to pay that, right? This is one thing that I did not have. My dad did not know about this. And my dad also is very kind of wary about okay, feels like I'm just throwing money away, not understanding some of these provisions that are there, right? But I wish, if my dad had done it, then I would have known because nobody really talks a lot about them. When the insurance guy came and talked to us about insurance, he didn't tell us about it. So we didn't know, you know what I mean? So this is so great to have this platform where we can raise awareness about these benefits that are out there to help to protect our livelihood while we are living. Because the chance of something happen to us while we're living and us survive that physically, we may not survive financially. And if we don't survive financially, our legacy dreams are gone, right? We aren't able to do what we can for our kids. So what I'm suggesting, this strategy, it's only if you have already taken care of yourself. Okay. So that is, where I would really, I look at that as putting your gas mask on, right? Take care of yourself, because we have a higher chance of something happening to us. And as I said, we look around, just cancer alone, and the thing too is, for some conditions, they even will advance some of your payout if you have an early diagnosis, the early stages of cancer. They may advance a portion of it, maybe up to 50% of it. Some companies even will give you a lump sum of, let's say you got cancer. They'll give you that lump sum, whatever that amount is that you said was important to you. So they'll pay that out. But then let's say down the road, you got a heart attack, right? Or a stroke. They may pay out an additional amount. Right? Now, of course, you got to pay a little extra for that provision, but that opportunity is there. So it really depends on the carrier in terms of understanding what types of options are out there that benefit you. Right. So that's, really what I wanted to share about critical illness. That's one of the living benefits that I think is very important to families. So, I'm cognizant of time too. I want to make space for questions and stuff like that. So before going on to talk about another, because I know that, I'm here, I'm happy to continue to have conversations, to continue to talk about living benefits. But if you guys have questions about critical illness, let's chat about it. And then as we have time, we can talk about the next one. Now, what I can say, because I know we did spend time when we were talking about life insurance,
Right.
we were talking about things like marijuana usage and underwriting and stuff. We're going to have another conversation about underwriting. But the thing is, remember, the whole thing for an insurance company, they're taking on the risk so that you can sleep easy, right? So they want to know how much risk they're taking on. So guess what? Remember I said the risk of getting a critical illness is much higher than the risk of us transitioning early, statistically, right? So guess what? They're going to want to understand those risks more with critical illness than with life. So they're more stringent, they look more closely at your responses to those questions, with your medical, your health profile and stuff like that. They look at those a little bit more conservatively than they would for a regular life insurance. A life insurance policy, they say, oh, it's okay, no problem. But when it's a critical illness, oh, that might be a problem, and this is where you want to, they will look at things like pre-existing conditions, because if you got a pre-existing condition, the likelihood of you having a critical illness is higher. So they're going to want to protect the risk. How do they protect the risk? They put exclusions. So they'll say, we'll protect you, but we'll exclude that condition because we suspect tomorrow you're going to come to us for that condition. So we're not going to cover that in this premium amount.
Okay.
So that's something to be aware of. Critical illness is looked at differently because it is, as we know, the risk, as I just told you, like just for a woman my age, the risks of the critical illness are higher. So they're going to look more carefully and understand what their risks are a bit more conservatively.
Has critical illness, living benefits, has that always been an option, or is this something?
Living benefits have been around for a while. Critical illness, that's a good question, because when that doctor...
I was going to ask the same question because not that I'm super exposed to all of this, because I'm in the learning process as well, and I've been exposed to a little bit. But I'm just wondering, is it just because we just didn't have the right individuals to tell us these things?
Listen, no. Okay, well, first of all, critical illness is newer. I don't know exactly what year. I'd have to go and look that up. Yeah. But it is, it's not as like, we know like life insurance has been over for like a century kind of thing, Yeah. So, these living benefits are newer forms of protection. The thing is, I think that reps did not spend very much time talking about living benefits, right? I'm sure that because it is a newer product, it's also, I'm sure, evolved and developed and had more things and provisions added to it. But generally, it's not something that people really talked about, even though it was there, reps didn't, advisors, brokers didn't talk as heavily about living benefits. They talk more about death benefits, life insurance, right? And that is to the detriment of us because so many of us don't know. So when that's why for me, when I meet with all of my clients, I don't care, because people will be like, nah, I don't want to talk about I don't want that. I'm like, that's okay. I just want to inform you. I just want to let you know and you decide for yourself. The worst is when it's like, I didn't know. If I knew, I would have got it. I would have wanted this protection, which is me. I wish I knew when I got life insurance, when I was in my my dad got it for me when I was 16, but it was only a small amount. When I got married and I had kids, now I had much more needs. So I needed to get more insurance. At that time, I'm like in my 20s. I could have got a critical illness policy and it wouldn't have been, but then I was healthier and all of that, right? To get it when we're older, we can get it. But of course, we're going to have to pay
a little
premium,
more.
Right? So, it is a good question, Keisha. And I think it's one industry. It's a newer product, but definitely it's an industry thing that is shifting. Carriers are really encouraging, brokers to talk about living benefits, to let people know, about living benefits. So it's important. It's important that we start having that conversation. And as I said, for me, I'm actually turning it on its head. I'm encouraging my clients to get that even first, like not for necessarily first, prioritize your dollars in that, because we need to do a bit of everything, right? We need to do a bit of everything. You can't really ignore anything, but make sure that you are saying, okay, let me get at least a little something, right? Because that's where our really where our risks are, is those things that take our life. And because we are living longer, we're kind of living sicker. So that's the thing. Yeah.
I think that you're going to say something, Keisha?
Now, I was going to say, when we talk about critical illness as well, I mean, even like cancer being one of them, we see how it's really dominating. I mean, there's a time when we think of cancer, you know, it would be hereditary. That's how I came about knowing, you know, did your parents have it, you know, but now it's anybody can have it, you know.
Our whole lifestyle, our foods, stress, like all of that is affecting our quality of life. So yeah, critical illness, it is something that is of value, and you know, if you can make that a priority to get some protection with that, I encourage families to do that. So as I said, I educate. I've actually changed my talk where I actually talk about that first, and then I say, okay, now you got your gas mask on. Let's put the gas mask on our survivors or whoever we want to, you know, leave our legacy to, right? Because you know what? I won't have much of a legacy if something happens to me and I have to burn through all of my money because, you know, I am unwell. Okay. So the critical illness is really protecting your savings. They just give you a lump sum. Okay. And I already talked about, I mentioned that there are some carriers that'll give you a lump sum for your first diagnosis, and they may give you a second amount. You know, if there's another diagnosis, you need to understand the rules around, because some of them have some real provisions, like it's got to be cancer, and then the second one has to be heart attack, or it has to be stroke, or if it's heart attack first, the second one must be cancer. Do you know what I mean? So you need to understand the rules around those, but knowing that those things are out there. And as I said, the return of premium provisions help to relieve that risk or that concern that you're just throwing money into a pit, and what if I never get sick? Okay. So yeah, so that's the thing with the critical illness, and there's opportunities to go multi-generational. Once you've taken care of yourself, is now to think, I want to make sure that my children have this protection so that they can continue to enhance the legacy I'm giving them, to make sure that's protected for my kids, so they don't have to blow through it because they got sick, right? So that's the thing with critical illness.
In terms of what we're dealing with now with the pandemic, how does that factor into what you're describing?
It does.
Here?
It does in that they do. Yeah, they do ask about COVID. They do ask. I mean, that is questions. Have you had COVID? You know, and they do also want to know the extent of, you know, the care that you needed, if you were intubated, like that. All of those are coming into those. They're coming into the insurance questions, even as it relates to life insurance. Most definitely for critical illness, which actually, you know, says something too about, you know, the uncertainty about the impact of COVID, right? But they do ask those questions. They want to understand that, and sometimes, in some cases, if you've had COVID, right, you know, they want to know that you've been past it for a period of time before you can get, you know, before you can get a policy at all, right?
So want to know. And sticking to that, not to be controversial. Yeah. Well, it's not just COVID-19, but also vaccinations come into play too. Will that factor into it?
Yeah, no, they're not. They don't ask if you've been vaccinated.
Okay.
I haven't seen that on a questionnaire. Okay, but they do ask if you've had. They haven't asked if you've been vaccinated, and they're not considering that you've been vaccinated or not vaccinated as a risk profile, right? So they are not asking that question, at least not yet.
I was gonna say, I didn't want to say it.
At least
you remember our opening comments about politicians, that not yet.
Not yet. Listen. Okay, you know, insurance. Remember I said we're getting this bag of cash. Okay. The insurance company. Remember, just think about all it is like cash, and the insurance company gets the benefit of handling this bag of cash, and they go and they invest it. Okay, they're investing it. They're getting a return. The insurance company, they want to make money for taking on the risks that they're taking on. All right. So, you know, since they're investing it, they're going to make money, and they're going to say, like, wait a minute. Everybody's calling and taking money out of this pool.
Yeah,
we need to revisit the risk. Okay. And so then they start to ask more questions. They start to change, you know, what is their underwriting rule now, right? So that's the thing. It is evolving. So we don't know. We have to see. So when you want to take advantage of time, take care of your risk now before all of those rules, they may change, because there was a time where they weren't asking COVID questions. Now they do. So
on the, I mean, I don't know how much you can go into this part, and it's not necessarily, you know, Okay, let me just ask it and then we'll see. So when you talk about the underwriting, right?
Yes.
What is it? Is it doctors that they consult? Is it like who, because those are very, precision type questions, they're very detailed and they go into specifics about who you are, background and all these.
Yes. No, we definitely need to have a chat about underwriting, but underwriting is really, for them to understand, what the risk is so that they can figure out how much premium to charge. So they have people who will ask these questions, like not people, I mean, their applications, but they have people, underwriters who vary. Like, I mean, I've learned of a company that has a doctor as their senior underwriter. So you cannot pull the wool over their eyes. They're like, that's why they understand the medical, they understand, what's going on medically speaking, right? And they see correlations, they see, how things can relate, right? So, I've got the thing. So the thing is, yes, there can be doctors consulted. Now, when they try to understand in terms of underwriting in general, they want to, as I said, they want to understand the risk. So how do they know? First thing is they want to know, remember I mentioned age. That's a big risk. Okay. Age. They want to know your sex. Because as I said, there's a different risk profile between men and women. They want to know your health. So how do they determine your health? They go through all of those detailed questions. Have you ever had this? Or in the last 10 years, have you had that? They want to understand your health profile. Now, depending on how much insurance you want to get, because they're like, ooh, this is a bigger risk. They may also want to get blood work to support the questions, right? So that's when you can have medicals, urine samples, stuff like that, right? And then even further to that, they may actually want to consult your doctor and they get something called an APS, which is an attending physician statement. So they want to really now fully understand your medical history, right? Depending on how much insurance, depending on what they see in your questionnaire. They may not always ask this. If your questions are simple, no, I haven't had this, or you may have some conditions, but it's not a big deal. But if they see something, they may want to dig in further, and that's when they will ask for an attending physician statement. Okay. Even a low risk profile, not a low risk profile, sorry, like a low amount of insurance, they may ask for attending physician depending on how you answer your questions on your health questionnaire. But I always tell people is to be honest. We are having a bit of an underwriting conversation now. Be honest. Because if they discover you're trying to pull the wool under their eyes, blacklisted. Okay. Wow. And that we do not want to be in that too, because that information, they share this information. So you do not want to be seen as being misrepresenting, being fraudulent. So I always encourage, just be upfront. Because sometimes people are like, especially when it comes to like marijuana, it's like, yeah, no, I don't smoke marijuana. It's like, it's okay. Like, they're cool with some usage. Okay. Just be upfront. And you know what? We can paint a picture. We can talk about, like, if you've got some kind of a health thing, right? But let's say, you're really active and you're trying to take care of it. Your broker can paint a picture to help them understand what's going on with you, which may help them to, look at your case more favorably. But your broker can only do that if they understand, because it sucks when the insurance company comes back. Because remember, just like car insurance, how when we get car insurance, you're like, okay, I had an accident. Well, the other insurance company know that I had that accident. And next thing you know, there's like, if you go to the reporting station, right? You're like, okay, can I handle this on the side? Right? I don't want it to go to the reporting, because then it's in their database, and all the car insurance companies will see that, oh yeah, you had an accident on such and such a date, this kind of damage, whatever, right? Same thing for life insurance. There is this central body where all of the responses, like codes for your responses, all goes that other carriers can see it. So it's important to be upfront and like with your broker to help manage that. Your broker can get ahead of things for you. This is all from experience when I'm like, an insurance company will call back and say like, yes,
my broker.
So there was this health condition, like there was this heart condition, and that was not answered on the questionnaire. So then you have to go back to the client and be like, So yeah, about that, so it's so much better when you can get ahead of these things, right? Even if
Yeah,
you
to
pursue
my
other
broker,
options.
yeah, I drink it for tea and I plan it, but I don't smoke it,
I know, like just as be upfront, you know what I mean? Because they know we live, you know what I mean? So, just be upfront about everything. But the thing is, I don't want people to also, as we talk about this, so it's good. We've actually been having a bit of an underwriting conversation. As we talk about this, I don't want people to be like, oh my gosh, like, I have all of these conditions, I need
Right.
insurance, right? No, there are carriers that are willing to take on more risk than standard carriers. So we call those things like guaranteed issue, where they only have very few questions, right, that they will ask, and you can get insurance. Now, you may not get as much insurance and the premium may be a bit more, but they're willing to still give you some insurance. And that applies for life insurance as well as critical illness. There are some carriers that will offer you like a guaranteed or, a simple version of the insurance for those people whose health profile, is such that they probably wouldn't get a standard, insurance policy with, one of the standard carriers, right? So that's something I want people to know, like, don't feel like, okay, I can't get any insurance. So still ask the question. A broker can help to see what options there are for you, source out some options for you.
I mean, in terms of what you're saying here, it's good to sort of calm folks down and just at least get them to crack the door, take that first step, even if it's just to get information, right?
That's what we're doing here. Yep.
All right, and in terms of that aspect of it, I mean, and cracking the door, taking that first step, do they just even to find out, do they check their network? I mean, if they're watching us, please call Billy Jane, right? he'll get you started, right? So if you're watching us now or then, right, just drop your information here. But generally speaking, outside of that, is it like, check their network, see who knows within your family member who has a contact to somebody like yourself, or, how do they suss it?
Sorry, like in terms of finding a broker.
An advisor.
Definitely, because it's so hard kind of weeding through all of the people who are offering services and who is really good at what they do. People, I love it. Like in some of the platforms, like for instance, I'm in Durham region. Keisha, you're here too. You're a Durhamite. And, the Black Queens of Durham, for instance, people will drop questions. Oh, I'm looking for this. Anyone got a recommendation? I think it's great to leverage, the experience of other people, right? Because it is hard, it's hard to make your way through and find the right person that you jive with. But definitely you should, like, when you meet with somebody, consider like an interview. You want to know that, because ideally you want this person to be part of your life, a part of your life, right? Because insurance, I always tell my clients, it's not a one and done. You should be revisiting your insurance over your life because your needs change, your circumstances change, right? And so you want to be with somebody that you actually gel with, that you can be open and honest and talk about, some of the things, your dreams, as well as some of your concerns. And then when life happens, somebody you can, reach out to for that, right? Because they will help you through the time when you really need that help and support. So yeah, I definitely would encourage people to, reach out to their networks because it helps to weed through, but then even still, interview that person in a way, right? Get a chance to meet them and see if this is somebody that you would really want to work with and have part of your journey, right? So, but yeah, I would be honored to help people. But I love having these kind of conversations and educating people about insurance. We've talked about one type of living benefit. So we talked about protecting your savings. There's another one about how we can protect our income. So what do we call that? Spoil it? No, what do you call it? When you drop a hint, what do you call that?
Oh, man.
Because Kyle was doing that all over. We were leaving people with things to
cliffhangers. We were cliffhangers. Yes.
Cliffhanger. So that'll be the next thing to talk about. Like, how do I make sure that I continue to get an income if life throws me a curveball? Okay. And disability is protecting your earnings. And that's what we can talk about at our next chat.
Next one. Yeah. For sure. Now, I'm sure there's quite a few, whether they have an opportunity to listen now or, later,
catch the
or
replay.
this will always be online, as we know. Yeah, at some point. I'm sure there are some who have warmed up to you at this point. So how do they get in contact with you? How do they reach out to Miss Billie
before
Jane?
Billie Jane answers that, Keisha,
Yeah.
I mean, because we were always together or whatever the case is, I went online and I'm just PCAL Financial, just to start, just to see, and you see Billie Jane's face, you see information about what she's on social media, even if you can't remember her name, if you just put PCAL Financial Group, she will pop up. But anyways, go ahead, Billie Jane.
That's right. You can reach me here on social media. Okay. Definitely you can reach me. And, my email info@pcalfinancialgroup.ca. I will definitely put my deets in the chat. So, you can I would love to hear from you. As I said, I'm on Facebook, PCAL Financial Group. I'm also on Instagram, PCAL Financial Group. I must be honest, Instagram, I'm working on it. I'm working.
Okay.
Keisha, I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your help, Keisha. Okay. But Facebook, definitely, I'm more active on Facebook. But social media, email, I'll definitely put all of my contact information in the chat, and I would love to serve. If nothing else, as I said, educate. Education is key. My approach always is for my families to understand what it is that they're looking at, so they can make the decisions. I don't make the decision for you. I equip you to make the most informed decision for yourself. I'm your guide. I'm your partner, and I can guide you. So, have you considered that? But I want you to be able to make the most informed decision. So education is key.
I know that it's it's difficult while we're going through the pandemic, and there's so many uncertainties: economy, housing, your job, your very job. But I would still encourage individuals, like Billie Jane said, at least just start the process, have a conversation, hear it out, right? Educate yourself.
Exactly. And don't assume that it's not for you, because as I said, there are options, right? And there are ways to find out things without you necessarily being really committed to anything, right? So just ask the questions, because you might be surprised that, it doesn't cost as much as you thought it would cost. There are ways. So yes.
And what does PCAL mean again?
So much to share.
Yeah, tell us PCAL.
Let us know what that means again. It rings a beautiful
partnership. Bell. Yes, PCAL partnership. I remember I was with my friend Sophia Bishop. We were at a coffee culture in Whitby, and I was like, I know, I'm going to call it PCAL Financial Group. And she was like, I like the ring of that. So it's partnership in creating a legacy. Partnership in creating a legacy, because I partner with you in creating your legacy. So that's it.
Yay, that's right. Awesome. All right. So we're
at time, but definitely cliffhanger. We're going to talk how you can protect your income so you continue to get your
pay. Wrote that down.
Okay.
I wrote.
Yes. Yeah, I know. We did, and
in my red book.
In your red book. Hey, wait! Hold up the book. He's wearing a red shirt. Hold up the book. Let's see. Because remember the debate: pink or red? I don't know. What do you think?
It's looking a little bit more redder nowadays. It's looking.
Okay, it's kind of red.
Maybe the lighting.
It's morphing. I don't know.
To terms now. Yeah. Well, we want to thank everyone that's had an opportunity to listen. Those who are going to listen. As you know, we're here. We're bringing knowledge and opportunity to those in our community. We want to make sure that we keep you in the know, giving you information, feeding you with that information. It's all about information. That's what it comes down to, informing ourselves, being educated so that we can make the right decisions, not only for ourselves, but for our family overall. So we want to thank you for taking this time and still sticking with us through it, and continuing to support us as we bring you the information that we love to do.
And we also help you to make sense of your dollars.
Exactly.
All right. So until next time, folks, from myself, KP, Billie Jane, and Keisha, we'll see you next Thursday, 1 p.m. Take care.
Bye.